So I asked the question, what do you do if you need to subtract or add before you multiply or divide? Or what if there's something that I need you to do before you do something else? So the order of operations includes please and excuse, and then my dear Aunt Sally. So please, that's going to stand for parentheses, or sometimes you might hear gems with G for grouping. So grouping symbols or parentheses. Our other grouping symbols are going to be brackets, and then sometimes you might see braces. Those are all the different grouping symbols. But for the most part, in fifth grade, all we see are parentheses. So some of us might see some problems with some brackets and some braces, but for the most part, we see parentheses. And then we've got excuse. So excuse stands for exponents. And in fifth grade, we're not really going to go into too many exponents, but in a couple of weeks, we'll talk about more about what exponents are. So for right now, we're not really going to worry about this one, just for now. So please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So you already know my dear Aunt Sally. I already introduced you to her. She's just real rude and she always walks around and just doesn't care about anything. So you have to please excuse her. She's so rude. Okay, so we're going to now follow this new order of operations. So first we're going to please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So P means first, before we look for my dear Aunt Sally, we're going to look for parentheses, or we're going to look for any other grouping symbols that there might be. So I want you to remember that we're going to look from left to right, and we're going to use a certain colored marker, whatever color you want, or a highlighter to help us keep track of what we've already used. So I want you to copy this in your notebook. Remember, you can pause if you need to. So I've got parentheses 4 plus 4 parentheses times 6 plus 2. So I'm looking for parentheses. Oh, and here they are. So I'm going to be using both sets of parentheses. You have to use, if you use one, you have to use the other one. And then I'm going to use 4 plus 4. So I'm going to be using this whole set right here. 4 plus 4 is going to equal 8. And then I'm going to bring down everything I didn't use. Times 6 plus 2. Now I'm going to look for any more parentheses. I don't see any more grouping symbols. And we don't worry about exponents right now. And then I'm looking for my dear. So remember, that's multiplication or division. I'm going to start from the left and I'm going to look. I see 8 times 6 plus 2. I see multiplication. And I remember that that's the two numbers on the either side of that operation. 8 times 6. I'm not quite sure what 8 times 6 is, but I do remember that 8 times 5 is 40. And so that would be 8 more, which would be 48. And then I'm going to keep everything I didn't use, plus and 2. 48 plus 2, that's simple. I don't have any other operations to worry about. I can simply just solve this and be 50. All right, we're going to look at one more. Now I've got 24 divided by parentheses 4 minus 2 parentheses plus 6 times 2. So I'm going to go up to the top and I'm going to start with please. So I'm looking for grouping symbols from my left to my right. I see I've got a set of parentheses. I'm going to underline those parentheses, including the operation in the middle. Now, let's say that this parentheses was a little bit bigger and I had two operations in there. I would then look inside of those parentheses and follow my order of operations inside the parentheses. Okay, so I've got 4 minus 2. I know that it's going to give me 2. And I'm going to rewrite everything I didn't do. I know that some of you might be thinking you don't need to do this step, that you can tell what you haven't used and that you'll be fine. I promise that this is probably the most important thing, is to make sure you write down everything you've done and rewrite again and again and again. Okay, so 24 divided by 2 plus 6 times 2. No more grouping symbols. I'm looking for multiplication or division, and I see 24 divided by 2. That's going to be 12. And then I'm going to bring down my plus 6 times 2. And now I'm following my order of operations, still looking for multiplication or division. 12 plus 6 times 2.